Ingram Smith, Bud Elliott, back again for another episode of the Nolecast. But I tell you what, these 8-0 Nolecasts, these are fun to do, man. For a podcast that's seen the highest of the highs and what hopefully is the lowest of the lows for a long damn time. Great to be back doing one that's covering one of the more exciting programs in the country. So we're going to thank our sponsors as we always do right out of the gates. Bud, why don't you jump into another Prize Picks conversation here? Fun times as we've continued to track this all season, and at this point, yeah, Bud, it's like you're educated on this subject matter or something like that. So
we would have to. I think we'd have to lose 40 or 50 in a row now to not turn a profit. So it has been a fun year on Prize Picks. Been a profitable too, but mostly just fun, right? I've had some nice ones. I don't know if you know, I dabble in the NBA myself. I'm a noted NBA fan.
Bud. I've never seen the segment talking as much, but I have a drink tonight just because it's been a good day, been a long day. I don't think a Scotch can screw up too much of my ideas to what took place in Winston-Salem over the weekend. So here we go.
Pronounce the name of a lot of these guys on Prize Picks, but I can spell promo code Nolecast. And I can get that 100% deposit match bonus if it is my first time depositing. To review the Nolecast card, we did have quite the weekend. Again, very close to hitting another 25xer. Just barely. We went 5 of 6. So, and that is because, unfortunately, and like, no sarcasm here. Prayers up for Tez Walker. He was released, I believe, from the hospital, and I don't know if he's going to play this week or whatnot, but like legitimately, I hope that guy's okay because he's an awesome player to watch. And had he not gotten hurt, I think there's a pretty good chance that we do go 6 for 6. Now, a lot of our people took the recommendations. By the way, if you watch live, I think you have a bit more of an edge because that Keon Coleman yardage number, that did not last a whole long time because we have, hundreds of people watching live, sometimes thousands, and, just they eat it up. All right, so we went, where's our official card? I know we tweeted it out. Here we go. Keon Coleman to score. Yeah, rocking chair, easy money. Drake May, more than 290 yards. No problem. Dom Lovett, more than 47.5. Absolutely. Spencer Rattler, less than 16.5 fantasy score. He had like negative 60 yards rushing, so it's hard to get a great fantasy score when you're being sacked like 7 times. That's what I anticipated. And Jamal Banks, less than 53.5 receiving yards for Wake. So the one we didn't get was Devontae Walker. Again, prayers up to Tez Walker. But yeah, a fun week on Prize Picks for sure. And that was a good time. Not quite as good of a time, though, as the time that was had in Winston-Salem. I got to give a shout out to the fans, man. Like, you could hear it on TV. They were loud. My folks went. I know they had a great time. Like, Snuggy Hill kind of got taken over a little bit, too. It looked like you could tell on TV. It was like when the refs made some questionable calls, there was a little bit of booing. They tried to drown it out with music, I guess.
Yeah, no, I mean, tons of Florida State fans from the second you park your car, it was evident. Like the second I got out of the car, I'm like, oh, there's a whole lot of Florida State people. And I'm sure there's, some more specific parking area for, higher booster Wake Park or whatever. But they basically just have I don't know have you been to Winston-Salem? They've just got the basketball arena parking lot there. You kind of pull in, park, walk to the game. Very kind of a nice, very, very ACC-esque atmosphere surrounding a Wake Forest game. But nice day, unseasonably hot, but a nice day on the whole, and great to sit on the away side. That literally, I think it looked like every seat on the away side was taken up until you encountered the Wake student section on the other side of the, on the other side of the field there. So, tiny stadium, but a stadium full of Garnet. Absolutely. So
I'm trying to remember what game. I think I went to the game there in 2004. Either 2004. It was shocking here. It was a close, low scoring game in 2004, and FSU 20-17 pulled it out. Yeah, man, the crowd support from FSU was pretty notable. Like, we should organize a game every year where it's like the the secret takeover game. Like Georgia doesn't make a secret of it. They go and take over Nashville for the Vanderbilt game every time. They send buses up from Athens and Atlanta. They make it like a big, like, not a bachelorette party weekend, but essentially just like, hey, go like Country Music Hall of Fame, that type of thing. Like maybe Dallas next year.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Dallas.
We'll get to that
SMU trip. Absolutely.
Later on in the show. Just a dominant performance overall, man. And it really was, we've talked about this a lot. Like there are certain schools that do a really good job, but because of the NCAA's inaction on a lot of issues, transfer portal, NIL, and they basically were just like, just delay, procrastinate until the courts essentially decided. There are some schools that I think are having a hard time competing with that. And somebody tweeted at us, and it was really a comment that you had made over the summer, and I think we had discussed, how many guys who would be at Wake as like good 4th or 5th year players are now elsewhere, right? One's at Oklahoma, one's at Texas, and another one is at Notre Dame. So I think that's kind of what you saw out there. Like if they have some of those guys who are starters on teams who are chasing New Year's Six bowls, you're not winning this game by 28. Right? It's a little closer. You're still going to win, but it is a little bit closer. Dude, I mean, from the opening gun, that is probably the most accurate preview we've ever done. like I know the score. We didn't nail the score exactly, and we have nailed the score before, right? One time.
I believe we both got it within 2 weeks of each other a couple years, because I got the Miami score, the 4th and 14 game, and then I think maybe 2 weeks later, you got the exact score. That's very rare.
That is probably what caused the turnaround, by the way. Like we should just note this, right? Like that's likely what, like you and I getting the scores correct is what caused this turnaround.
I'm sure everyone has their theories. So what was the score? 41-16? What was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think. What did you have? I think I had 41-10, 42-10, something like that. So
I think I had 35-7.
Okay. All right.
A little lower on.
Oh.
If they line them up, play again, they ain't scoring 16.
No, man. I mean, don't take my fan card away, bud. But we watched the first half. Then I went down and sat on Snuggy Hill for about 5 minutes just to have that experience. And I left at halftime, dog. I mean, the game was. I had another place I had to go. It was a little bit hot, a little bit sunny, but this is a phrase that's used a lot. Dude, they just couldn't block you. I mean, there was nothing that was going to happen in this game. When it was, 31-7 or whatever at half, I just said, yeah, why don't we hit the road? So we still got another 2.5 hours. We got to drive to the ultimate destination. Why don't we just go ahead and get this one started? And with the FSU Game Day app, this is not an ad, but it is worth knowing that the greatest byproduct of COVID is that all these leagues, professional, collegiate, whatever, basically made all their content available to be live streamed. And, you can have your Game Day app and ride in the car and listen to Cole Hain, regardless of if you're in, Virginia, North Carolina, or whatever else. So that is a cool, nice little ramification of some changes that were made a couple years ago as to availability of live multimedia.
Very cool. So, you have any siblings? I'm trying to remember.
Only child.
Okay. So there's a thing when like you're both in trouble and you think the parents are going to yell at the other person because they start yelling at that person first. And I kind of wonder if that's not what happened with the offensive tackle situation for Wake when they got into the meeting room this week, because I did see some interesting colors on the grade sheet here. So tackle CJ Almonis, he had a pass blocking grade for Wake of 23. 23. So generally, I don't see anything lower than like a 40 in an FBS like Power 5 game. Very rarely. However, he was not the worst tackle in this game for Wake. He was not the worst by half, because the guy who had to block Jared Burst actually had a 9.7.
Ooh,
Mr. Clapp, 9.7
single digit
PFF
That's
grade. I look at a lot of grades on this thing, man. I got to tell you, I am not entirely sure. I've seen a 0 before, and I think we've actually seen a 0 from FSU. Like, I think
did we not do that? A left tackle at Syracuse a couple years ago, I think was pretty
yeah,
close.
he got the 0. Who was the tackle at FSU who had the Pokemon backpack? And we were always a little bit skeptical if it was going to work out, even though he could do like the feet behind his head.
We're talking about Jay. We're talking about the same kid. Yeah, it
Yes.
wasn't Jay Juwan or whatever his name was.
Yeah, Juwan Williams.
Juwan Williams. Yes, but I mean, I can't
Abdul
say
Bello had the 0. Apparently.
Bello had a 0 too.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, Juwan Williams, and if the story's true, I wasn't there. I didn't hear it, but if the story's true as to what Trickett said to that kid after he officially signed his LOI, it is one of the strangest and most interesting phone calls that's ever taken. Trickett really prided himself on the second that fax came in, he was going to let you know that
the de-recruiting process.
Anymore. I'm not your friend anymore. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
It is interesting to be like, Spencer Clapp, you're gonna be on Jared Verse NFL draft video several times.
Yeah. The good news is your tape is going to be seen on day one.
You will get exposure.
You will get exposure. But
the fastest growing brand in college football is Wake Forest.
You're not going to be the guy walking to the stage. But yeah, you will be seen.
Yeah. So I mean, look, dude, just really a dominant effort out of a lot of guys. I don't know, like, can you really nitpick it? Backs and tight ends at pass protection a little bit. I still have like some problems with you're allowing three-man pressures against 5 or 6 man protections. That really shouldn't happen as often as it's happened. But I think the coaches probably love this because they don't love the result of some of those plays, but they get to nitpick it in practice and correct it because you're gonna see better defensive lines. But I really don't think Wake's defense is that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Wake's offense is legitimately terrible. And I mean, if you're Fuller, I'm sure you're kind of pissed that you gave up more than 7 points. But
yeah, being good at safety on a bad defense doesn't do you a whole lot of good. And sometimes when you're on a bad defense, you can actually make safeties look maybe a little bit better than they are. But 3's impressive, man. 3 pulls the pin, and that play that he makes to get back and get the ball up on what otherwise would have been a Darian Williamson touchdown is very, very impressive. It was kid's absolute ball player. So,
do you think that the D lineman on the play to Kentron that gets called back for the hold that Roddick gets called on, you think he just guessed?
I'd have to go back and look. I'm not going to fake it, man. I'm not familiar with this.
Like, maybe he saw something, but I kind of think he just guessed because it doesn't. I don't know. Like, go watch it again. Let me know what you say. I don't want to like pre-bias you. I just sometimes football is a little bit of this, right? It's and then just that's a reason. Like if Georgia plays, Georgia State, they're not going to win 77-0. Occasionally, you're going to get a stop or a drop ball or whatever. So I don't know. Like I'm certainly not saying that Roddick's playing at a super high level. I don't believe that he is, but I don't know. I kind of wonder if that kid guessed a little bit, or maybe he saw something. If he saw something, I'm sure FSU will take a good look at that and say, what did he see it hit this so fast? It's not necessarily a play that we run all the time, that type of thing. He graded out exceptionally well. Really, like the whole offensive line did for the most part. So Emmanuel, still kind of working his way, and they're clearly banged up. I thought you got like your big guys delivered, right? You knew you were shorthanded with your number 2 receiver and your number 3 and 4 receiver, depending on where you slot Keem. Coleman's just like, yeah, I got you. Don't worry about it.
I got you, Keem.
Benson has got to be the only player in FSU history to have an 80-yard kick return, an 80-yard run, and an 80-yard catch for touchdowns, right?
The only clause I could think of is if Tarmeric Vanover ever took a reverse to the house, because he probably got the pass, definitely got the kick, and maybe he did play for a coach who was pretty fond of requesting a reverse every once in a while, and maybe he could have taken a long distance reverse to the house. But that's the earliest of Florida State memories for me. That's the only guy that I could ever think of who have done that.
Maybe the chat will have a recollection of that. I just thought it was a pretty good team effort overall, man. Like
Benson hadn't had maybe the year that he thought he would coming back, but I'm not negating. I'm not trying to, but he's done a lot for himself on a Sunday evaluation based off how he's caught the ball this year. I mean,
thankfully
he's made a significant improvement there, and he's gone from a guy who you didn't necessarily, or I don't know, maybe it's just small sample size, but you didn't necessarily love the idea of throwing to a guy that's really worked on his game and developed his game when it comes to making himself a better pass catcher. So credit to Trey there.
Carlos Williams is a good suggestion in the chat, by the way. He definitely had the run, and I know he had the kickoff return.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure he did, right? Yeah. Wait, no, the kickoff return he had against Miami got called back.
Yes, which is, I mean,
a BS flag.
A BS flag, but I mean, that, say what you want about him running down the kid in the national championship game. Dog, watch that kick return. That's as fast as, other than, I'd say that and Lavernius Coles are probably the two fastest people wearing garnet and gold that I've ever seen. And Carlos Williams reaches a top speed on that kickoff return that looks kind of CGI-ish. 20 other elite athletes on the field, and that dude's moving at a speed that nobody else could imagine they're getting to.
Totally. Whitfield is probably a close third there in terms of how it looked. Like I obviously, like, we're not idiots. We have Google. Like, we understand how fast Whitfield ran in track, but like watching it, dude, yeah, Carlos looked a different speed that day, and several times during his career, actually. So, yeah, excellent day overall. Let's take a moment here to thank the legendary team, 844 FSU Loan, 844 FSU Loan. I've used them twice. More than 500 Dolecast listeners have as well. Why? Great service, great communication, great rates, knowledge of the industry, and they treat you with that nice personal touch. For a mortgage company, it might just be another loan. For you, it's the biggest decision, the biggest expense you're going to have every month. You want to make sure you have somebody that takes care of you. I don't think 500 Nolecast listeners and me twice are wrong. So give them a call, 844 FSU Loan. Chad and Shannon will take care of you. You want to talk a little college ball playoff rankings coming up?
Let's do. Yeah, interesting weekend.
Are you a conspiracy guy on this?
In what regard?
So I don't do the Cover 3 Tuesday night reaction show for two reasons. One, I'm really pretty hard and fast that ESPN just makes it up as they go with this thing for ratings until the final one. And then the final one is actually fairly predictable if you know what the formula is. The week to week is not. So they're like, really, you don't think this is real? I'm like, no, I think this is all just like made for TV drama product because, ESPN bought 10 episodes of this playoff show, so they need to sell it and create drama week to week. But that's just me. And the other thing is I have softball on Tuesday nights, so I'm also unavailable. But I was available one night, and they're like, no, I don't think it's a good take to say every week. But like, do you think these are real rankings? Because other people do. So I'm not saying I'm right. That's kind of my thought.
No, I mean, look, if television's involved, there's going to be an element of television, right? To some degree. Now, does it mean that it's all the books are entirely cooked? Yeah, not necessarily, but yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to talk down to people, but what you just said, when you buy that much airtime, you've got to drive people to watch it. You've got to justify to advertisers, et cetera, et cetera. I think Florida State's going to be ranked 3. I would be surprised if they're not ranked at that place. Maybe they're 4th. Maybe they're a tool of which, it wouldn't be the first time that the size and the liveliness of the Florida State fan base is particularly poked for media reasons. I mean, like, trust me, it's not many people that respond good, bad, or otherwise more on social media and other things than the Florida State fan base. And that's a metrics to which, people are well aware of, particularly on social media. But no, I mean, I think it'll be intriguing. I will just say, as far as like last week, we talked about some situations that I was concerned about, maybe justifiably so, maybe not. But Oklahoma losing made me feel a hell of a lot better. I mean, in my doomsday scenario, you would have had a Oklahoma that lost to Texas, and then you had Texas with a win over Alabama, who in my hypothetical last week would have beaten Georgia, and just a whole lot of confusion there that maybe a conference in your schedule hadn't otherwise collaborated with you to provide all that great of an argument, and you certainly didn't get a better argument made on Saturday in many ways. If you had one loss and you were trying to jockey with teams, Saturday could have been devastating to hopes of making it in. But as long as Florida State's undefeated, I think they'll be okay. And my biggest concern is somewhat made null by the fact that that Oklahoma lost last weekend. So
I think like we're sort of like coming towards each other's positions a little bit, because like last week I was not real worried about the schedule. This week, given Miami going to overtime and Clemson, although I think they were clearly the better team, and I would make the line literally 10 again if they played again, given that that's like one of the most unlikely results based on how the game played out that you could possibly have. But Clemson seems to be really good at having unlikely results this year. More on that in a minute. But like them losing, UNC losing again sort of hurts. Louisville smacking Duke around, I think actually it probably hurt you slightly. Like a short Louisville win would have been better, I think, because then the chance that Duke stays ranked is a little bit higher, and maybe they'll stay ranked by the end of the year. I don't know. Leonard doesn't look right. I think that's I think playing him was a mistake by Elko. Yeah, who I think is otherwise.
We try not to second guess. We try to first guess. We said it in the week leading up to it. Yeah. It is what it is.
Completely. However, Oklahoma losing is a pretty big deal. Texas is only a 4-point favorite over Kansas State this weekend in Austin. Oklahoma is a 6-point favorite in Bedlam against Oklahoma State. Alabama is a 3-point favorite in Tuscaloosa over LSU, which implies that like they have LSU as like 0.5 points better, because you're going to get 3.5 for a home, big time game CBS in Tuscaloosa. Washington is a 3-point favorite at that USC team. I say all that because if I started with the fact that Florida State is now minus 270 to make the playoff on DraftKings, plus 215 to miss, I mean, your implied is like a 65% chance now. That's exceptionally high. It is much higher than ESPN's FPI, which honestly, guys, like I think we've discussed FPI before on this show. Elevator pitch, useful tool, directionally more correct than not. When it comes to the playoff predictor part, if Allstate, who sponsors it, could have asked them to just make up complete crap and just like put it out there for clicks and engagement and rank and ratings, like they could not have come up with a better thing.
Yeah.
They're giving Georgia
enjoyed your tweet on this earlier today or yesterday, whenever it was. But yeah,
Georgia, which could have beaten Florida by 50 if it wanted to, has a 7% chance to win the national title. That's what we're going with. Like, how does? I know we've had a lot of layoffs in media, but
their numbers are particularly like last week. Their numbers were that Georgia and Alabama had the same likelihood of winning the SEC, which was like 16% or something like that. So they have some kind of interesting algorithm towards whatever the SEC West is going to do in the championship game. It would appear
they appear to have doubled Georgia's in the last week, and after the impressive win over Florida, Georgia is now up to a 10% chance to win the national title, which is cool because Vegas gives you about 3-1, not 10-1. But yeah, if you're just off market by orders of magnitude, just hit publish on that. Good job there. Anyway,
funny guy.
So look, the only team in the Vegas odds right now that is higher than FSU is in terms of making the playoff, not winning it, certainly, because you're like fourth in that. Making it is nobody, at least on DraftKings. Caesars doesn't have theirs up yet. I do think that Caesar stuff this year has been sharper and harder to beat. So I'll let you know what the Caesars one is, but it's probably not materially different. And Florida State also on FanDuel, minus 250. Georgia is minus 210 to make. Michigan minus 150 to make. Ohio State plus 110 to make. I don't think you have to go undefeated to make it, given the number of close games that are likely to be played elsewhere. Oregon, by the way, 5th, which Oregon looks pretty good.
Yeah, Oregon looks good. Good. We've got some general momentum behind that program right now. So
I would say so.
Good.
I think we're referring to the same thing, and yes, they do. They are not. They're playing for keeps. Would you say?
Yeah.
They're not in the SEC. They're going to the Big Ten, and they're about to be
preparing themselves for such.
Yeah. They ain't messing around. Well, they got to keep landing, right? You play Miami, you play Pitt, you play Florida in the swamp. Those are going to be some physical games. You have to have some real toughness on a down-and-down basis. You're a better team than those teams. Those are not locks. But I do think, like, by the numbers, you are more likely than not to go 12-0 now. Not like overwhelmingly likely. It's about 60%, it looks like. That's still, like, from a probabilistic standpoint, that's really high, guys. Really high. I don't think there's a single team out there that has higher odds of finishing 12-0 than FSU right now. Because Georgia is, FSU is minus 200 on Caesars to finish 12-0. Georgia's minus 125. So they're basically saying, like, Georgia's a coin flip to go 12-0. FSU's more of a weighted coin flip, right? This sets up nice. You took care of business early. Doesn't it feel like this team is fresh, too, on defense?
That's another thing. I mean, I think, look, they still got another week. I would be more concerned about Miami had they not have to constantly play overtime ball, constantly be trying to win games at the last second. I mean, Miami matches up with you fairly well, particularly with what they have along the defensive line, and they're very solid on the interior of their offensive line. But I do think that, we'll see. It's a Florida State-Miami game. People are going to be ready to go. But I do think that, you could see yourself kind of, beat Miami into submission. That might be a little bit too much. And it's also a week early for this. But you're fresh. Miami's literally having to play all their players, every snap, every game, extra snaps twice in a row. I feel a lot better about that game just based off the amount of tread that's had to be taken off that tire during the course of the regular season. So
completely. All right. So just let's keep this thing rolling. Keep watching, ball games. We'll have a full Pitt preview. I know a lot of guys that cover Pitt and do a good job. So maybe we'll grab a guest this week. Unsure, but
keep it rolling, keep it optimized in the same manner that Congruity can for your business. Had 2 more people reach out to me. Matt, I owe you a couple group texts. I'll get those out tomorrow, but more people are interested in working with Matt Lewis, and there's a very good reason why. One, because they've worked with us for 4 or 5 years now, and we have a large, active, and engaged audience, but there are nobody that's had anything but great results with Matt Lewis, and will stand at the top of the hill and beat my chest, having worked with him 4 or 5 different times over the last couple of years. Great guy, great company. Congruity's just the type of people that you want to partner with. And congruityhr.com is the website. congruityhr.com/Knowles is the FSU specific website that they have created. If you want to hit me up on social media, I'm happy to introduce you to Matt at any time. But a big thanks to Congruity. And Bud, I saw 2 of the home field leather jackets, or the bomber jackets rather, this weekend. Homefieldapparel.com, Noelcast23. You can get your discount there. But despite it being, I don't know what these people were thinking, damn 84 degrees or whatever in Winston, but I've seen them. The weather's changing. It's the time of year for those, and they've got a great allotment of sweatshirts, T-shirts, everything else, thanks to the good people at Home Field.
I mean, dude, absolutely thanks to the great people at Home Field. Also, what if there are South Florida listeners? They trip up North Carolina. They're like, how many times am I going to get the chance to wear this? We know a lot of y'all have bought those using that promo code because they have sold out of some sizes. So I
very
did hit
popular.
up Connor tonight and said, hey, like, can we get some more of these in? Because they're all about these bomber jackets. It's fantastic.
I mean, look, you go to Pitt, you certainly should win. You're going to North Carolina. I mean, it's going to be an awful. Not that the season hasn't been fun, but it is. It's starting to get real fun. Real fun.
You like
looking forward to going to Charlotte, man. I haven't gone to Charlotte ever. I mean, Charlotte? It's not like this program's been there a whole lot recently. I don't know that I've gone to an ACC championship game, bud. Honestly, I'm gonna have to fix that.
I've got some spots in Charlotte.
Yeah,
because we go there every year for the ACC Media Day, and then this year the coaching convention was there too. So that was good. There's a good brewery scene. There's a couple decent whiskey bars, some good steak places, good sushi place. It's a good jam. It's a good weekend city. Like, I don't think it's a city where, like, I get to spend a week in Charlotte. You're like, damn, can I move my flight up? But, like, and I'm not saying Charlotte's a bad place to live. It's actually to live there, obviously. But it's a good spot, man.
No, a popular place, and a lot of the very popular, like, Western North Carolina breweries have started opening up spots in Charlotte as well. So I'm familiar with the Queen City and looking forward to getting back to it. So good times.
When's the last time you went to Dallas?
I went to, what was the podcast festival last year that I went to in Dallas?
Podcast Expo or
it was the one where Ben Shapiro walked around and everybody had to apologize, or Podfest, something
I
can't remember what it was called, but I went to Dallas for that. That was where I think I had to have you call in as like a medallion member or whatever, so that we could borrow a room for 3 hours. Like, no, I'm not selling drugs. No, I'm not renting, people by the hour. I just need to do a podcast. But
the Marriott, whatever it was, that doesn't love doing the hourly room rental.
The hourly room.
like would you like a conference room? Like, I'm not hosting a conference. Like, remember it was like 3 or 4K. I was like, I'm not reserving a conference room.
We're not getting Anyways, good times.
Yeah, bill it to legendary congruity, and just we'll see.
Yeah,
got to get the pot out on time, right? Did you see this schedule?
I did, man. Trips to Dallas and Dublin in the same year. That could be an awful lot of fun. Save your money once you get done following this team around in the postseason, I guess, because next year there's going to be, Duke, SMU. Obviously got the neutral site game in Dublin. Yeah, you didn't get to sit to California, which honestly I thought you might, just because you've made so many friends at the home office.
There's a 100% chance you go twice. Look, I know people are saying you got all the toughest teams. We don't really know which teams are going to be, like, for sure tough and which won't, right? It's you, Miami, or Clemson for the league next year, almost certainly, because those are the 3 teams, and maybe outside shot of Louisville, depending on what happens.
Yeah, Georgia Tech and Atlanta. So, yeah, man, Atlanta and Dallas. I mean, that's
no, Georgia Tech in Dublin.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking. Yeah, what the? What?
So it's at Miami, it's technically at Duke, SMU.
Yeah, gotcha.
So you only play 3 true conference road games. Miami is kind of a conference road game, but it's also kind of not, because FSU fans take over like half the stadium. SMU, like, that could be a good takeover spot, man. Duke. We'll see if Riley Leonard stays and if Elko stays and all that stuff. If he does, like, that won't be an easy game, certainly. And you need some challenging games. Like, wins are great. Blowout wins are great too, but, like, you kind of want to have some challenging games. Home schedule is you're probably a massive favorite in 2 against Boston College and Cal. Clemson, we'll get to Clemson in a minute here. I know we've teased it a couple times. And North Carolina happens to lose Drake May, and their defensive coordinator has given up 77 points in 2 weeks to Georgia Tech and Virginia. So I don't know. You do get Notre Dame obviously next year, and you get UF in Doak. So
you got Notre Dame as a home game as well. Oof, you do next year.
I think Notre Dame's on the road, isn't it?
Okay.
I was looking at the conference schedule, but yeah.
No. I mean, you as I imagine, not that you fully get to dictate, but being that you're demoing, a third of your stadium next year, you would not want a home schedule with Clemson, Florida, and Notre Dame.
It is at Notre Dame, correct?
Yeah. Okay.
I was
Good deal.
pretty sure on that. Sorry. Colby Jackson says, what does it mean FSU is minus 250 to make the playoff? Sure. So great question. Colby, basically, when I say they're minus 250 to make the playoff, if you wanted to bet on FSU to make the playoff, you'd have to put down 250 to net a return of 100. Right? So you'd post up 250 at the counter. FSU makes playoffs. They hand you back 350. Right? So, it's implied odds are like, over 60%, obviously, just to put it in kind of layman's terms there. I appreciate it because not everybody speaks that language. I look at the odds. I'm like, okay, like that seems fair. That seems unfair. That type of thing. Who will be Notre Dame's quarterback? Says Bill. Good question. Have you taken a look at who the transfer quarterbacks might be out there? Because I did this exercise today. I am
never.
I'm very skeptical about some of these quarterbacks who could hypothetically be in a portal, right? So I'm not going to read off anybody who I think is going to go to the draft. Like Michael Pratt has a chance, but he also could just go, could go pro. I don't think the Salter kid at Liberty really fits anywhere. I'm just going down the list of QBR nationally. I don't think the Jalen Rayner kid at Arkansas State's like a big time kid. Brady Cook's a system guy. Jackson Dart's probably a system guy. Don't really think you're a major threat to steal Quinn Ewers, so I'm going to go ahead and skip over him. Florida gets Mertz for another year. I assume Van Dyke goes back to Miami for another year. We'll see. Fafita, kid at Arizona, is nice, but he's like 5'9". We're down here past the first 30 guys. Chandler Rogers at North Texas, I think, is a guy that will get some looks. He's played really well for them this year. North Texas kid. TJ Finley's a system dude. Cam Ward at Washington State, potentially. Like, I think he's got some juice. That could be a name. But, man, I'm down here to like the 40th guy in QBR overall. And it's kind of slim pickings, man. Like, I don't know that this is going to be an amazing year for the transfer portal for quarterbacks. There's just not a lot of guys at the high G5 level or like the low P5 level who are lighting it up, right? Cam Rising, I guess, says Gabriel in the chat. Yeah, that's another one. My point is, like, we really don't know who's going to play quarterback for the Irish or for FSU or for anybody. But if you got some guys on your roster you like, it's not the worst thing in the world. I don't know, like, it's not a great quarterback year. Maybe so far. Maybe some guys will emerge. Certainly some backups who miss out on jobs will. But I'm excited about this schedule. Like, I think this is it's a schedule with a lot of games I will be excited to see. Like, SMU to me is Florida, Notre Dame, Miami, Clemson. I think the game at SMU is your fifth toughest game. SMU has some real players. They have some real NIL money. Like, the defense they've assembled in the portal is kind of dominating the American this year. So,
SMU's not messing around. They're in. They're committed. And do everything they can to get off to a strong start. So,
100%. Now, a team that is not off to a super strong start this year, they could have done a little better, is Clemson. Did you happen to watch Dabo Swinney's call-in show tonight?
I didn't watch it. I did see some of the quotes tied to it. I mean, it's
I love this sport.
I'll talk to you off air about that. I mean, I'm not trying to be a pompous ass, but there's I've heard a couple of, look, to be like, oh, there's dysfunction behind the scenes. No joke, dude. I mean, this is a program that thinks they're, going to go to the college football playoff. That's how they recruit kids. I'm just hearing some very similar stuff that I've heard at Florida State before when it's not going well. And yeah, I think Clemson's a tough place. They're legitimately going to be, being bowl eligible is by no means guaranteed. They're going to have to try to get it together, and Dabo's going to have to make some changes. I mean, I think you were one of the leading voices nationally to sound the horn on some of the hires that he was making as far as what their background was and some of the lack of just a resume. And not that, everybody needs to have a resume, but you can't, nobody like somebody's got to have a resume, besides just your offensive coordinator. I was driving around on Saturday night, and YouTube is a glorious thing for discoverability, and it picks up on what your watching habits are, and it knows that I like to watch instant reactions of teams that are having a tough time, and it recommended 2 straight Clemson pods to me, one of which I've never heard before, but it was funny. I mean, I'll juice it up for the guy a little bit, but he was like, our offensive coaching staff, it's not an offensive coaching staff. It was a bad Disney pitch that somebody actually made into reality. And then he went into like his video, his trailer, his movie trailer voice. He's like, what if you put together an offensive staff that none of them had professional experience before? So it was, yeah, they're deep into, this isn't just bad. This is a very bad time. So,
yeah. I mean, Garrett Riley's probably pretty happy because he got like well over $1 million per year to come be the offense coordinator. But yeah, they do have some problems. I talked about them on Cover 3 today, and I feel like, yes, I was ahead of the curve on them needing to use the portal to cover for some holes. Like, I'm still very much like, I'm unsure how much you can raise your ceiling with the portal. I'm 100% confident you can fix holes and avoid catastrophic fall off like you're seeing from Clemson.
You can be guaranteed to do that. Sometimes you can find a Keon in a, that's rare. But can you make sure that you don't have just a grease fire? Yeah, the portal can keep you from having that. Absolutely.
That's one reason why I think so. Top 15 teams from the preseason this year, when favored by 10 or more points, are 83-2.
Mm-hmm.
Both of the 2 are Clemson.
Yeah.
Now, granted, like the loss they had this weekend was statistically probably the most improbable loss you're going to see all year. Like, you don't nearly triple the opponent's success rate and lose very often and hold them to 204 yards and lose. But they did manage to do so, which is,
and like you said, they're specialists in that regard this year.
They are. I kind of think they're going to beat Notre Dame this weekend.
I kind of do think that. I kind of do.
Yeah.
Kind of do.
Notre Dame lost the tight end, and they don't have receivers, and they lost both corners in that Pitt game. So,
the call-in shows like somebody sounds like probably as somebody that's sandbagged once or twice in their life. It sounds like
you used to screen calls, didn't you, for a little bit?
Well, I have a prank call that was consumed by more people than all of the Nolecast ever put together. I'll put it that way. And I don't want to go into it a whole lot, but it was political nature, and I'm not into politics. First job ever. Blah blah blah. Yeah, I've screened some calls too, and I love a good prank call. Anyways, kid gets on, ask him, what it looked like. Why are we paying $11 million if we're going to go 4-4 or whatever? And Dabo came out firing. So
he did. He said, "You're part of the problem. If you want to apply for the job, go for it, and good luck to you. I'm not going to let some smart ass kid get on the phone and create this stuff. I work for the board, the president, and the AD, and if they're tired of me leading the program, they can let me know, and I'll go somewhere else." And then he rambled on and talked about how he was once one of the lowest paid head coaches because he was not really qualified to be head coach at the time.
Right. Yes.
And they had to use all the money on assistants. And then he later said, anyway, that's basically what he said. He has said some stuff like, we need to clear some people off this bandwagon, blah, blah, blah.
Maybe it'd be good to make a little room on this. Well, I mean, he's a man of his word. He's done his part in clearing some space off that bandwagon, definitely. Yeah.
Now look, I do think, and I said this on Cover 3 today. Number one, it is statistically incredibly improbable that you're going to be like the number 6 success rate defense in the country and be like in the 80s in success rate in the red zone. Like there's nothing intrinsic about Clemson's defense that makes them that damn bad in the red zone. And there's nothing really that says that Clemson is especially bad at holding on to the ball inside the 10-yard line. Like the ball doesn't get slippier. It's just a little bit random. And it does suck that Clemson is having, it sucks for Clemson that Clemson is having incredibly bad luck in critical situations. As a team that felt like they always kind of knew what was going to happen at times, maybe while Brent Venables was there, just sometimes it's hard to create your own luck, right? Anyway, which by the way, somebody did ask me about this. Do you think that's why Jimbo did a pretty good job against Venables when he didn't have Jameis? Because they were not going no huddle. They were going slower and they huddled all the time. If you recall, remember when Ryan Day in the Sugar Bowl like took it to Venables at Clemson and they huddled every time. They went super slow and did the sugar huddle stuff. Somebody brought that up to me. I was like, damn.
That's interesting. I know that the greatest irony in the 2013 game taking place where Damian is familiar with what your calls are is that Jimbo, there was a time in Jimbo's career where he was probably the most paranoid person in the industry of getting his calls deciphered. I mean,
because he worked with Nick.
And I had guys who worked with him that he would do things that even in an industry that has some crazy people that were wild to protect his calls. And I will go to my grave is a silly thing, but I will never understand how a guy who's that background got his play calls deciphered in the national championship game. It's one of the few things that makes you just kind of shake your head.
I mean, if you got a quarterback who's so damn good that he can screw around and throw bubble screens left-handed the week of the national championship game in practice, and just like, I guess you just, oh man,
might get into a false sense of security. You're right.
Yeah. I also said on Cover 3, and I think this is probably true. If you're a power player at Clemson, once you knew that they were not going to make the playoff or New Year's Six Bowl, you probably want them to lose another game or two, so you can sort of say, "Hey, man, like it's not all good, right? We're not." You could say we're a player or two away,
right?
But like, we also beat Wake Forest by 5 in Death Valley, and Florida State beat them by 25 in Wake. So there's some stuff, right? Yeah, I think he's going to be forced to make some changes. I do.
He almost certainly is. Almost certainly. Yeah. Yeah, he's going to have to. There's going to be some interesting things going on because that's still a guy, and I understand why, but that's still a guy that recruits to kids, telling them that they're, going to play at the apex of the sport. And I wouldn't go away from that. He's a good recruiter, and I've had people even recently still tell me that Dabo's a very impressive recruiter. Good at it. But that's, coming off a year like that, it's going to make you change some things on a variety of fronts. So interesting to see how he handles that.
Completely. Her Gene Chiswick is a big fan of you. Should give you a shout out for how good that UNC defense is looking. Yeah, I have this tweet saved from Chiswick where he's talking about how like NIL is the downfall of America. I'm like, yeah, this guy's making more than $1 million to give up 77 points to UVA and Georgia Tech.
Yep, and has one of the better linebackers in the conference, if not in the country. I mean,
the D-line's too.
Yeah, D-line. I mean, we talk about quarterbacks getting wasted all the time, and I know people are, that's fresh in mind with both USC and the program that we're talking about, but there's some legitimate talent on that UNC defense, and they can't stop Georgia Tech from running the ball. It's wild. But yeah, no, NIL is to blame. You're right.
I would say so. Certainly all the evils of NIL. Logan has an interesting question. High substitution rate, given the image of this team isn't as dominant as it can be. Is there another LSU type win in the tank for this team? Well, like LSU type score, or because like let's recall, I had a call with somebody tonight. We were talking about rankings and power metrics and like true talent of a team. And, you know, I was like, look, Florida State did hold LSU to 17, you know, before garbage time. And he's like, yeah, but like, what was their expected points? Like that's fair. You know, like you did get 2 massive red zone stops. Expected points probably like 24, 26s, you know? So if the question is, do I think you can beat another like top 10 level team 45, was it 45-17 when Mike put the backups in?
Mm-hmm.
That's an improbable result, right? If they played LSU again, I wouldn't predict 45-17, you know, just like that's, you played exceptionally well and also like got the right cards at the right time. Like Blake Neighbors falling down on the route and, you know, Green picking it. So yeah, but like, do I think they could snowball a team? Absolutely. This team has got some serious weapons, man. Like you got to think they're going to land a couple knockout punches a game in most situations.
You know, and not trying to make too much of one player, but Darrell Jackson in the playoffs is a exciting ingredient to add into this equation. But have you made your hotel reservations for the Miami weekend?
I have not. Need to.
Oh,
they are pretty booked up.
They are disgusting. But to that end, I would make reservations for our good friends at Charlie Park as well. I've got a couple friends that I'm trying to get in various times throughout that weekend. And when you go and you look online, go ahead and make them if you want them. So that's a Miami weekend's going to be wild in general. Plan accordingly, plan early. Yeah. What'd you say?
I said we know the owner though.
Yes, we do know the owner. I think we'll be okay. But I would encourage you to plan ahead, whether it's Miami weekend or not. Charlie Park, top of the class when it comes to Tallahassee eateries, bars. Truly a place unlike any other. Right there, looking over Cascade Park, next to the AC Hotel, Charlie Park rooftop bar. Thanks to Matt Thompson and everybody on the For the Table Restaurant team for the support that they've given us for damn near a decade now.
C Fontaine 78 says, but if we can't block UGA or Michigan, are we better off just missing the college football playoff like 2014 TCU than actually making it and getting exposed like 2023 TCU? Cost benefit, which is better scenario? No, you want to make it. Like, there's no doubt. Also, I think you're probably a clearly better team than that TCU team was last year. Right?
Oh, yeah,
like, I mean, they got a lot of guys drafted. I think they'll have more guys drafted off that team than FSU will, but maybe not. Like, I think you've got
really some top end pieces that 23 TCU doesn't have. Yeah. Look, you take your chances. I'm not.
Georgia's also not as good as they were last year. Like Georgia's still really
they're not as good, and I think if you make the college football playoffs, this fan base is ecstatic. You know, you go there, you roll the dice. You're either going to New Orleans or LA. I mean, let's do it. You do it, have fun, maybe even win the game. So,
yeah, you want to totally. Also, like, look, stuff does happen in the sport. Just because you'd be an underdog does not mean you couldn't win the game. Like, is it likely that you'd win the game? It's not likely, but it's not impossible, right? There's probable, improbable, possible, impossible.
I think you want Georgia to win out. I think you want Georgia to be 1, you to be 2 or 3, and catch them in. Hey, stuff happens. Catch them in the finals.
One weird thing I did pick up on that broadcast. Did you watch Georgia Florida live or did you just watch highlights?
I've just watched the highlights. Yeah.
Go back and watch TV copy. I might be crazy on this. I might be hearing things, but I was picking up on an interesting vibe about the future availability of Brock Bowers.
Okay.
Several times in that broadcast, and I don't know if they were trying to imply this. I think they were, especially because I work, for CBS, and we're very careful here. I think they were basically just trying to make sure that, like, if that was the last Georgia game that they did until the SC title game, which is possible it is, I'm not sure. Like, I think they wanted to make sure they appreciated Brock Bowers' career. But they did couch it twice in, like, and if that's the last time we've seen Brock Bowers, blah, 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 blah. That's just, it sounded interesting in my brain. I don't know. Maybe I'm just hearing things. I'm watching like 5 games at once, in that 3:30 window. But man, I don't know, like they look really damn good.
Yeah, look, Bowers makes that offense go, but
Yeah.
they've just got guys, they've got pieces. The clip that you and I were looking at is a great example of that. I mean, they're not playing some of their better linemen, and they're still got just bodies out there that are doing just a whole bunch of elite pieces of clay, and they're pretty decent at developing them. So,
yeah.
I mean, look, dude, we're 8-0 talking about, oh damn, what if we get Georgia in the final? what if we play for the friggin' national championship and have to play Georgia? Okay, yeah. Let's try to figure out what might happen there. Incredible.
Yeah, like if we do that, the biggest worry is going to be like dinner reservations and flights. You know, yeah. If that's your worry is like, man,
Yeah.
one of these two teams
Mm-hmm.
that will have like every single starter drafted, and I guess with Michigan, maybe a lot of the backups too, they could be a problem. No shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, they could absolutely be a problem. Now, your D line could be a problem for them. Their D line will be a problem for your O line, right?
Yeah.
Like PFF came out with their top 200 today. FSU had 0 offensive linemen and 0 linebackers in it, right? I think there's a chance they get a linebacker drafted.
Linebacker thing it surprised me. Yeah, I think you will get a linebacker drafted. I do. I think depending on what Tatum runs, he might get drafted. And I think Kalen DeLoach fits with modern football in just a unique way. I think he will get drafted. No.
I like Mike though in his bag. It's like an underdog play caller role.
Mm-hmm.
I think Clausen was genuine when he's like, he's one of the best play callers in the sport and doesn't get a credit for it. I think part of that in mind is like they're about to kill us. But,
yeah,
I think he's faced him before. He knows he is.
Yeah, he knows he is. And the thing, and we're just bouncing all over the place here, but
we are. This is
the thing about being up in the manner that you were at halftime and stuff, like Byron Turner gets more snaps. That's massive in developing a prospect like that. Dude, I know that you've got concerns about consistently grabbing high level talent out of the high school ranks, but Blake Nicholson is getting to play more and more, and Blake Nicholson's going to be an absolute ball player. There are some incredibly positive dividends to the way that you've handled some of these games so far this year.
That's what I was saying about like the freshness. Obviously, like we know you haven't used that poker term run good on the O line as far as injuries and banged up and stuff, but you're not running your best guys out there either at all or for serious reps out there right now as they're sort of healing or just working their way back into game shape. And you're winning games by like 25 points in conference on the road. Yeah, I know Wake's down. Of course they are. But you're like a 23 playing to a 23 pretty consistently now for about a month. Like that's a really good sign, man. Like you're not one of these, Washington is probably like a 20, but last week against Stanford, they played like an 8. Like you seem to have a certain level of play where you're pretty consistently doing it. You covered a game against a ranked team in which you gave up a pick 6.
Mm-hmm.
Like that has some signaling, man.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
If you give up pick 6, your rate to cover is like very low. It's almost always the death knell.
One of the OSG Snollcast listeners, Derek Blevins, asked a great question. Derek's longtime listener, longtime Patreon member, if I recall correctly. Haven't heard much chatter from Mike regarding Coach of the Year. Thoughts on that? Yeah, you're right, Derek. I haven't either. I do think that will grow considerably as more and more of the national media doesn't just focus on, oh, well, they didn't look great in these 2 quarters of this game or whatever else, and just appreciate the job overall that's been done. But I would have thought if you were 8-0 at this point and playing the way that you were, that you would hear more talk about Coach Norvell for Coach of the Year and other things like that. And I don't think Mike's a threat to go anywhere. You just re-upped him last year or whatever, but it doesn't. If you just want to be purely selfish about it, maybe him not being named the National Coach of the Year or whatever is a good thing for you as well at the same time. So,
yeah, I'm trying to think like who else it would be. If DeBoer makes the playoffs, they would be in the conversation. Certainly, Washington. if Kansas were to win the Big 12, I think the conversation is effectively over. It'd be live.
Yeah,
Everybody
it
else
should.
go home.
Yeah. I mean, if they they should. They should. I mean, that is a
The Kansas
unspeakably good job that he's done out there.
that guy was like 102-6 at Wisconsin Whitewater.
Yeah,
He apparently knows how to coach.
Well, yeah, at Whitewater's. There was a time where Hampton-Sydney was really good and had a chance to maybe flirt with the idea of winning a national championship or at least playing. And Whitewater's an incredible program and really good coach. Absolutely.
Within the conference, they're probably going to give it to like Mike Elko if they finish like 9-3.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see how that finish goes. I mean, he's certainly, the Duke thing is going to live in people's head, etc. But yeah, and Louisville's coach will get some talk as well for the job that he's done there. But no, Mike should get credit. We'll see how much traction he gets in some of those conversations.
By the way, Boston College and the Hokies doing their part to make your schedule look a little bit better. Because
a little bit better. Yeah, go ahead and win this weekend, Virginia Tech. Please.
I tell you what, man. If they do, although, do you want them to win?
Yeah, hell yeah. Yeah. I think you're in if you're undefeated at this point.
Yeah, but who do you want to play? Do you
Virginia Tech?
Oh, yeah. Okay, fair. Yeah. That seems improbable if they're going to run the table, but they are 11-point underdogs this weekend.
They win this weekend, they've got a pretty decent chance. So, no, we'll see.
I mean, Jeff Hafley and Brent Pry, it's not terrible if your fifth and sixth best win are Power 5 bowl teams. That's what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? Like I should stop saying the word saying, but that will help your resume down ballot a little bit. Boston College did not lose to UConn. It did not lose to Army. It's largely kind of taking care of the games it should win. It did lose to NIU at home. They're a little better MAC team, but they're still a MAC team. That's still a bad loss, but they countered with the upset of Georgia Tech in Atlanta. So that one helps.
Georgia Tech can beat Miami and UNC, but can't beat Bowling Green at home. Yeah.
They have not played a game within 17 points of the spread in the last 5 weeks. Everything is either amazing or horrendous. There's just there's nothing at all there. Would you like to play Miami twice?
No.
Not particularly, but if you are as good as you think you are, you would a lot closer to evening up the series, right?
Would be great to beat them twice in 1 year. Yeah.
How close are you to taking the all-time series back?
I think you're still 2 years away from that. Is that right? 3 years? I mean, I know. Didn't you tie it and then gave up a couple losses in a row?
Yeah, 35-32 Miami. Okay.
Yeah. No, that'll get you within an opportunity to tie it next year.
Yeah, a lot of people are saying, "Are we overlooking Pitt?" Look, in theory, Pitt did beat Louisville. Pitt is a more physical team than Wake is. Okay, you can't just sleepwalk your way through that game. However, your defense.
Oh, by the way, I don't mean to interrupt you, bud. I'm sorry. No, I don't want to play Miami twice because if you play them twice, you probably lost to them the first time. They're not going to the ACC game if you beat them in 2 weeks.
That's a good point.
No, I do not want to play Miami twice. And no, I don't. Bad idea.
Is there any way that you can play them twice and beat them twice? I don't think so, right? You would have to have Louisville lose another game that's not Virginia Tech and it's not Miami, and then there's probably some really crazy.
I'm sure there's some. Yeah, maybe there is.
No, actually, probably not, because they don't have the tiebreaker against North Carolina.
Okay,
because Carolina beat them, so that's the third loss is probably it in conference for the Canes. I think they probably have to run the table. I don't know. I'll look at that. Yeah. No, Pitt is physical. We will talk more about Pitt on Thursday. They're an interesting ball club for sure. I just hit another 25-1 Prize Picks. I thought for sure Kyle Lowry was going to get another assist and screw me.
Bro,
let's go.
You
I don't even know this. I don't even know some of these guys' names. Derek Lively, the second, less than 15 points and rebounds. Yeah, he had 8. That's a good one. Jimmy Butler, less than. Zion Williamson, less than. Jalen Williams, more than. Kyle Lowry, less than. And Luka, who they busted my chops on cover 3 because I didn't know how to pronounce Luka Doncic, but now I know.
There you go. Growth.
More. Look at that. Let's go. Prize Picks is fun. I was not following it live during the show. I was like, okay, I need to check.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. No, never. But
are you watching the World Series tonight?
I'm not. No, not that I'm a big Braves fan, but when they lost, I decided to. I don't know. Maybe I'll listen. I like kind of listening to baseball in general. I might put it on the radio.
I had a guy on Twitter that gave me shit, and his Twitter bio said he was a Lakers, Braves, Chiefs fan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably maybe Duke basketball and Florida State or USC football or something like that. Yeah.
Changes by the week. Yeah. Also, Inter Miami.
Okay. Good.
I'm sure. Good. Yeah. So my son, the 4-year-old, because the Rays aren't in it, he's like, who should we root for? I was like, well, you want to pick a team or you just want to do the game? They'll let him stay up, watch a couple innings, not all the game. We'll watch a recap in the morning.
You know what y'all are costuming as tomorrow night?
He is he's got a couple. He's got like a Spider-Man. My mom sent him an awesome, like legit looking astronaut costume. I am going as whatever my wife tells me to go as, probably. I don't know. I don't know if I'm dressing up. I got the golf cart. We have misplaced the pumpkin lights that hang around the golf cart. I have no idea what happened to those. That's not really totally my responsibility, but I probably will get blamed for it. I had not thought about it at all.
I think I've still got a way to grab a couple of those for you, but we'll see what's out there.
Yeah, I need more of those for sure. A recruiting update. I talked a lot of recruiting on the last show. I thought, look, recruiting is going well. You are squarely in the top 5. I think you have an excellent chance to finish in the top 5. I think with FSU's reputation, in being a team that's very dependable with transfer portal, you can supplement the recruiting with that and continue to take big swings in recruiting. Like, they're doing a really nice job. All the while, like, continuing to evaluate exactly what this team needs to continue to get over the hump there. Be that approach or basically, when I say like recruiting skill, I basically just mean like sales. Recruiting is sales, right? So relationship building, all that kind of stuff. They're doing a really nice job. Is there a chance that Keon goes for 1,000 and Trey goes for 1,000? Yeah, I would, including the bowl games for sure. Although I don't know if Keon would play in a bowl if it's not a playoff, obviously, like bowl.
No, I mean, well, whatever. Yeah,
he's got 538 yards now. Let's assume 7 more games. That would include a semi. I don't know if you're going to win the semi. We'll see. Can he average like 70 yards, basically? I think so. Yeah, I 100% think so. That seems pretty doable. Trey Benson, again, can he average 70 yards? Especially if he pops one of these games where he's got like 170. Yeah, that would be no, 7 games would be the natty. I apologize. So 6. Yeah, it's a little tougher. I don't think it's out of the question both these guys can get to 1,000. It'd be pretty cool. And Jordan, getting 3,000 at least. 30 and less than 5. Nice little ratio you got going there.
Yeah.
That's about all I got tonight. You got anything else?
No, man. I think we'll talk in a couple days. We'll do the pit preview. Look forward to that. Headed to the pit game myself. Should be a pretty good showing. Know a couple of our mutual friends that are headed up there as well. So be a good time. Definitely.
Nice. All right, man. We'll be seeing you.
All right, brother. Talk soon.